who's as adamant about his or her position as I am about mine, whom you think is sharp. Seriously, we know that. And another thing, we heard him say that... Hey sports fans, Larry Elder here. Welcome to our year-end wrap-up of And Another Thing. If you'd like to become an Eldorado, and I suggest you do, go to LarryElder.com, fill out the form, get a free copy of Michael and Me. Now for the year-end review. So many things happened, some good, some bad, some ugly. Let's talk about politics first. What was the biggest story? The biggest story domestically in politics is the Republican butt-kicking of the Democrats in the 2014 mid-year elections. Not only did the Republicans increase their majority in the House, but they've now taken over the majority in the Senate. It's not filibuster-proof, but they now have a majority, which means Obama's legislative agenda, raising taxes, expanding Obamacare, spending more money, trying to redistribute the wealth, regulate the economy even more, is going to be very, very difficult. He'll have to do things via executive order. That brings me to the second thing that he's done domestically, and that is he signed an executive order that grants a stay of deportation for up to 5 million illegal aliens, parents of legal kids and kids who were born here will now be deferred from deportation for at least 3 years based upon Obama's executive order. Now, the Republicans have taken him to court to sue him, but by the time the court resolves this, Obama will be long gone, and Obama will defy the next president to undo what he's done because so many people will have benefited by it. There'll be so many sob stories that the media will bring up. It'll make the Republican who repeals Obama's executive order look like Scrooge. Let's talk a little bit about foreign policy. The rise of ISIS is probably the biggest story foreign policy-wise. What happened? This is a group of fanatics, remnants of al-Qaeda, remnants of terrorists that have attacked governments in Syria, governments all over the Middle East. They are now formed what's called ISIS, which stands for Islamic State. How did that happen? Well, it happened because we pulled out all of our troops at the end of the war in Iraq. Obama declared the war over, declared Iraq safe and sound, pulled all the troops out. As a result, all of the intelligence that we had there, the networking that we had there, the ability to find out what was going on, all that was disrupted. And as a result, ISIS caught the president blindside. Unfortunately, I think the same thing's going to happen with Afghanistan. Just a little while ago, Obama has pronounced the Afghanistan war over, America's longest war, 13 years over. Unlike in Iraq, he's going to leave some advisors behind because he's learned from Iraq. But I fear the same thing that's going to happen in Afghanistan that happened in Iraq, which is after we pull out, after the American soldiers are no longer involved actively, the bad guys come back and are going to threaten the homeland. I believe it is a huge, huge mistake. The other thing that's happened domestically, foreign policy-wise, is what's not happened foreign policy-wise, and that is Iran has not stopped building their nuke. They are still pursuing their weapon. They got 6 more months to do so from John Kerry, who says that they've offered good faith. I haven't seen the good faith. As far as I'm concerned, we are marching towards a nuclear-armed Iran, which means there's going to be a nuclear arms race in the Middle East and have all sorts of destabilizing consequences for the rest of the world. Some other issues that have happened this year. One of the bigger ones is the Sony hacking. You hear about that? The Sony Pictures, one of the major movie studios here in Hollywood, has been cyber attacked. The feds right away said that the North Korean did it alone. However, other people believe that the North Koreans could not have done it alone. It required more sophistication than they have, and they believe that China was involved. Still, others believe it was an inside job. Some disgruntled employee at Sony did it. I do find it pretty strange that we knew right away that it was solely the North Koreans who did it when George W. Bush was hammered after looking at the intelligence, after relying on the same intelligence that Bill Clinton relied on and said that Saddam Hussein had stockpiles of WMD. He did not have the stockpiles when we went there. And as a result, there was Bush lied, people died, rushed to judgment. But President Obama right away says North Korea did it. Boom, it's done. We have no idea. I suspect North Korea did it, but we still don't really know. The other thing that happened as a result, however, of this is that the movie was released directly online. You could just pay $5.99 as I did and watch the movie online. Now, the studios have a long time tried to get around this model of having to go through the motion picture studios first before they show their film. They'd be delighted to be able to sell them directly to you and me. And this model shows that it was successful. The interview sold like $15 million worth of online sales in just 24 hours. Shows you that the model could in fact work. The biggest domestic policy story, however, is the hands up don't shoot, I can't breathe, Black Lives Matter situation or movement. It started in Florida with Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was shot and killed by George Zimmerman, who was the neighborhood watch commander or watch guy. There was a trial. He was found not guilty, but after the trial, Jesse Jackson and others said things like, blacks are under attack. Then over to Ferguson, Missouri. Black man named Michael Brown was shot and killed by a police officer named Darren Wilson. There was no videotape, but there are some witnesses. Very, very lengthy and thorough grand jury investigation determined that Officer Darren Wilson did nothing wrong and there was no charges. However, there were some riots in Ferguson as a result of that, and riots all over the country as a result of that. Now, after that, there was another death of a suspect in New York. His name is Eric Gardner. It happened in Staten Island. He was selling what are called Lucy's, individual cigarettes, and local entrepreneurs complained. The guy had been arrested a bunch of times for selling these kinds of things. He's a big fat guy, obese, has all sorts of other health problems, and an officer was said to have used an out-of-policy chokehold to bring him down. I really don't think it was a chokehold. Either way, the grand jury determined that Officer Dan Pantaleo did nothing wrong, did not indict him. There were still more disturbances, more protests. Cleveland, 12-year-old boy named Tamir Rice was twirling around a firearm. It turned out it was a pellet gun, but the guy who called 911 called the police and said the guy is scaring the blank out of people. It may be a fake gun. I don't know. Again, it turned out to be a pellet gun. A rookie officer who had been, turned out, fired from a previous police force was hired by Cleveland. He's the one who shot and killed Tamir Rice. It's now being investigated. And again, a number of people are accusing the police of profiling black people, thus the movement, I Can't Breathe, Hands Up, Don't Shoot, Black Lives Matter. There was another killing. This happened in a stairwell at a public housing complex in New York. Again, a rookie cop going on what's called a vertical patrol, patrols that they're not supposed to go on, where they literally go in and look at the stairwell and find out whether or not there's any activity going on there. But these two cops went there even though they weren't supposed to. And there was a shooting. It turned out it was apparently an accidental discharge. It's being investigated right now. Now, what's common with all these cases, whether it's the one involving this man in the stairwell, Akai Gurley, or whether it's Trayvon Martin, or whether it's Tamir Rice, or whether it's Eric Gardner, or whether it's Michael Brown, what do these all have in common? What they have in common is there's no evidence whatsoever that whatever went down because of race, let alone racism. Still, you have this movement, hands up, don't shoot, and you have people like Al Sharpton leading a protest where some protesters were literally saying, what do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them? Now. And Charlie Rangel, a congressman from Harlem, denied that protesters were in fact saying that. So how does it all shape out? Economy is doing better. Not because of Obama, but in spite of Obama, largely because of fracking, because of the production of energy in this country that Obama opposes. As a result, energy prices have declined dramatically, giving people the sense that they've gotten a raise. And because of the Republican resurgence in Congress, and because Obama's legislative tax spend regulate agenda has been stopped, business people have a lot more certainty, and so business has become better. Foreign policy-wise, you have a guy who believes in strength through peace, as opposed to peace through strength. Ronald Reagan's point of view. Trust, but verify. Obama seems to be, I'll trust you, I'll verify later on. Altogether, we have a tax spend regulate president who has presided over probably the worst economic recovery we've ever had. We have a president who's naive about foreign policy, and in my opinion, has left the country less safe, less secure than when he took over in 2009. Go to LarryElder.com, fill out the form, become an El Dorado. Free copy of Michael and Me coming right at you. I'm Larry Elder. Happy New Year, everybody. Don't drink too much eggnog, at least eggnog that's spiked with something. I'll see you in a week. Bye.